Perhaps the most discussed thing in modern automotivism is if you should buy a car with a turbocharger or a naturally aspirated engine. And today, let's have that discussion. This is a Mazda Speed 3 engine. It's a 2.3 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, and just like all of them, it's blown up, and that's why it's on my engine stand. Now inside all of these engines is a piston that moves up and down to rotate the crankshaft. Now when this piston is on its downstroke inside of the cylinder, it's going to create a vacuum here, which is going to suck air in through the intake valves. Now if you add a turbocharger to the mix, the air is not just being sucked in, but it's being pushed in by the air pressure created by that turbocharger. So now you got more air in the combustion chamber. You got a little extra fuel and you can have more power. This is a turbocharger. We've got filtered air that's going to enter in through here. This compressor wheel is going to compress the air through this volute, sending it out this way. That compressor wheel is spun by the turbine wheel on this side here, which is driven by the flow of exhaust gases coming out of the engine. Here's my napkin sketch on how this works. Basically, we've got our engine that's going to be pushing exhaust gases into the turbocharger. That's going to spin up the turbine wheel, which is going to spin up our compressor wheel, compressing our fresh air, which is then going to be piped all the way to the front of the vehicle to the intercooler. And that's because when you compress air, it's also going to increase the temperature. We're going to pipe that back out into the air intake plenum to go back into the engine. More air in the engine equals more power. Now if you have the naturally aspirated version of this engine, you have none of this, just intake and exhaust. Now the turbocharger's boost has to be controlled somehow, and that's done with the wastegate flap over here. That's either electronically controlled or vacuum controlled. In addition, you do have lines going into this thing. We've got coolant over here and oil lines to keep this center bearing nice and cool and well lubricated. So let's take a look at some of the advantages of having a turbocharged vehicle. First off, you got some nice low end torque. That's great if you want to tow home your WRX that blew up after a day at the track. Now that low end torque also gives you that feeling that the vehicle is faster than it actually is. As you get higher into the mountain areas, the air starts to thin out, and having that forced air into the engine really helps out. If you had a naturally aspirated engine, it would really lose a lot of power as you go over the hills. Turbocharged engines allow you to downsize your engine compared to a regular naturally aspirated one that's rated for the vehicle. For example, a Honda Accord from 10 years ago used a 2.4 engine, whereas the current one uses a 1.5 liter turbocharged engine. Now, they do use less fuel because it is a smaller engine, but that's when you're not using the turbocharger. If you are passing or you're in boost a lot, you are going to be using a little bit more fuel. Now, they also say it's better for emissions, and that's partly because you are using a smaller engine. However, these engines do run a little bit too hot, and they do have to use a little bit of extra fuel inside of the combustion chambers to help cool them down. That results in a little bit of extra unburned fuel and NOx emissions if things are not going very well. A smaller engine lends to less reciprocating mass and mass in general, which is great for efficiency. Turbocharged engines are also more favorable for enthusiast vehicles like this Speed 3, for example. A simple tune could get a lot more power out of this than stock. Boost it too much though, and it'll end up on my engine stand just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for this teardown. I'm looking forward to that. Turbochargers also make cool whooshing noises when you're driving, which is fun. If you put a proper blow-off valve over here and it vents it to the atmosphere, it makes you feel like you've got a really fun car, even though it's just a Kia Sportage. Let's run through some of the disadvantages of having a turbocharged engine. First of all, you're increasing the pressure inside of the engine. That's going to increase its operating temperature, and that takes its toll on other components, such as the engine oil. Remember, the engine oil is now part of the lubrication system that goes into the turbocharger, so it's going to wear down and break down a lot faster. Same thing with the cooling system. Now, some vehicles have a coolant system that's separate that powers the intercooler and the turbocharger, but that does add some complexity. Now that said, heat also takes its toll on other engine components in the form of heat soak. That's just the entire engine bay warming up and all of the other components around it warming up because your engine is running so hot. Now as you saw, there's a lot more parts under the hood of a turbocharged engine compared to a naturally aspirated one. Having more complexity and more parts introduces more points of failure, and that affects long-term reliability. This is the main reason why a lot of people hate on turbocharged engines, because they're very money-minded and think about long-term reliability without acknowledging any of the advantages. Now the behavior of our power band is a bit different in a turbocharged vehicle, and that's because we have turbo lag. That is when you put your foot on the floor asking for power, it takes a while for the exhaust gases to spool up and give you that power. And that's where you're going to see this little delay over here where you're basically operating in the range of a naturally aspirated downsized engine. So let's say it was that 1.5 engine in the Accord, whereas with a naturally aspirated 2.4 engine, you get your power right away nice and smoothly as you increase RPM. Once it does build up boost though, it does give you quite a surge of power, and that can be a little bit unpredictable. Say if you wanted to make a quick pass in order to avoid a Prius on the side of the road. Now once that turbocharger spools up, things do get pretty thirsty. You are adding a lot more gas and a lot more air inside of the engine after all. That's great, it gives you more power, but you are going to be a lot less efficient compared to down here. So you kind of have that two-faced character with a turbocharged engine, basically a gutless, underpowered one, and one that's too thirsty. Turbo cars are like this: efficient, power. The problem is we're mostly on the power side all the time because we've got big wide open roads. People are texting while driving and speeding, trying to pass people or run them over. Then you complain why you don't get the advertised fuel economy of our naturally aspirated piece. Now Mazda did offer the same MZR 2.3 liter engine in the regular Mazda 3s, and those were far more reliable than this one. This one's also direct injected, so if you want to see my thoughts on that, check the video linked above. Now naturally aspirated engines give you that nice, smooth, consistent power delivery that we've all come to expect. It also runs nice and cool and very low stress because you're not forcing air into its intake. Now, naturally aspirated engines are going to be easier on maintenance because you're not so hard on the oil, the coolant, or any of the heat soaking inside of the engine bay. Now, from the OE side of things, it's easier to manufacture a smaller, naturally aspirated engine. Think of all of the overseas markets that have really small, tiny engines in their vehicles. That's how they can afford to give very small budget cars to them, because they don't have big, wide open roads that need big power. Now, less complexity also lends to a better long-term reliability, and that's the biggest going point for people who are arguing for naturally aspirated engines. Stick it old school, it's going to last a very long time. If you're penny poor like me, you'd stick with the old reliable naturally aspirated vehicles and kind of stay away from the turbocharged stuff. But eventually everything's going to become turbocharged or hybridized or electrified somehow. Here's my ride, 300 horsepower of naturally aspirated raw power, not a turbocharger or an electric wire in sight. Now speaking of electrification, looking forward, we do have things like electric turbochargers. Those are going to spool up independent of the exhaust gases, and that can fill in this power gap over here, so you got instant torque available without waiting for exhaust to build up. Now also commonplace nowadays are turbocharged vehicles that are hybridized. So you've got an electric motor that can give you instantaneous torque, once again to fill in this power band gap over here caused by the turbocharger. You are adding a lot more complexity nowadays. Think of like the BMW M5 or even the Toyota Tacoma. You have to add a battery, you've got to add an electric motor and a whole bunch of other things to cool that off in order to give you a decent enough power band that a naturally aspirated engine once did. At the end of the day, if we're going to electrify stuff, we might as well just electrify the entire car and just go with an EV, right? Now I want you to tell me in the comment section down below, which vehicle would you prefer? One with a turbocharged engine or a naturally aspirated engine? I don't want you to tell me you want an electric car, because we'll save that for another video.